red again. Unfortunately for Tex, unfortunately for Drifter. Warlock versus Weird Boy in an interesting sort of standoff here. However, the Warlock's going to turn around to try to engage the Mech Boy, who now also has the custom force field, also known as the Joyous Bouncing Bubble of Joy. If you've never used that war gear on the Mech Boy, I strongly suggest you do. It is quite a lot of fun. And there is why. He sees the Mech Boy has this buff on him, he takes reduced range damage and can additionally just push stuff around in melee. So if he walks into a setup team, it just gets flung all about. However, with the Warlock here, the Mech Boy's not going to be able to assassinate that Shuriken Cannon quite like he would to have done. The Shooter Boy squad lost 3 members on retreat there, but fortunately did make it out. The Death Dread, however, is haywired and getting bashed quite severely by both now the Bright Lance and Banshees, and the Sluggas are having to retreat away from these mighty Warp Spiders and their guns of killing Sluggas. I believe that is the technical term for those weapons. Another Gen Bash going down. I believe this is like the 6th or 7th Gen Bash of this game between the two players. Ooh, Weird Boy getting a nice shot off on those Banshees. However, those Warp Spiders do quite a bit of damage to the Weird Boy. Mech Boy covering his retreat, however, is about to get surrounded. Needs to not be into that fight. Get out of there, Mech Boy. He activates the custom force field, charges forward, and then teleports back. The Banshees, having been knocked into the base area, are going to have to get out of there. Tex does have a war truck now. Neither Slugga squad is in it yet, though. However, one Slugga squad does now have a knob. Warp Spider's getting out of there with protection from Distortion Field, which is a Warlock global. If you don't know what that is, it reduces range damage received by the unit or squad by, I believe, 50%? It might be 75. Or it could be neither of those. I could be completely wrong. But I know it reduces range damage received. And it only costs 75 red, so it's pretty darn awesome. If you're a Warlock, you're going to need to use that. Oh, the clown car antics begin. And both Slugga Boy squads have knobs now. Neither have Burnos, but who needs them when you've got crazy clown car antics? Will this Shuriken Cannon, or Bright Lance Cannon, sorry, make it out of there? 57 hit points, 2 members. Yes, it does look like they're going to make it, especially with the Shuriken and Warp Spiders covering the rest of their retreat. Double Warp Spiders out now for DrifterXero, and things are looking quite up for him. He has 2 caps of victory points to none. He has most of the map's resources. The Weird Boy, however, is trying to be a sneaky man here, although having not waited until the forces actually moved away is not actually that sneaky. And that is why the Weird Boy failed his entrance exam into Commando Knob School. Had to fall back on his degree in vomiting and stomping, and also zapping, and occasionally throwing people. He was an Olympic level shot put thrower before going to school. Love the little graphic of the on the ground after the Weird Boy attack hits the ground there. A little electrified dirt. Drifter now going for a 3-cap, moving his forces up here to try to catch this Shooter squad. However, leading with the Banshees means only two member losses there. Warp Spiders teleport in to try to drive off this Weird Boy, and do so quite quickly. Meanwhile, Clown Car has generated, I believe, I don't know what number of generator bash it is in this game, but it is high. There have been a lot of gen bashes in this game. Neither player really able to get a farm up for very long. And it looks like there's about to be another one right when the node starts going up. Meanwhile, these Warp Spiders are decapping this point. Sorry, I had a little bit of a laugh there at the orc announcer voice shouting, "Stinky Eldar Vandals!" The orc announcer is so indignant about everything that Eldar do. It's pretty great. My favorite quote from him is, "Eldar act posh, but they's just thieves." Which is triggered when an Eldar opponent is stealing one of your nodes. Clown car rolling in on the Shuriken team now. Truck is going to have to be a very bit careful with the Haywires and the Bright Lances and the whatnots, and it does indeed pivot out of there before taking too much damage. Mechboy recapturing this point. Texanius now owns one node on the map. So that's not super good. Shooter Boys versus Guardians in melee. Who knew the Shooters won? Clown car now trying to finish this squad off. Will it do it? Will the Guardians make it out? They do, with 75 hit points and 2 members. And now we've got a nice little Weird Boy plus Mech Boy team trying to harass this entire Eldar army. The custom force field is doing a good job. Ooh, Otart calling on the Weird Boy in the building. That's not so good. Oh, doesn't manage to quite kill him. However, he is very low at an perilous situation here. If he gets out, these warp spiders are going to kill him almost instantaneously. He does get out. The Mech Boy tosses him a have a taste, and he jumps back in the building. Crackerjack timing out of Texanius, and this warp spider squad's now going to have to get out of here. Not a lot that can really push this Weird Boy out right now. The Autarch and the Banshees are following a bit far there. Weird Boy now doing quite a bit of damage to this Bright Lance as the Clown car unloads on that Shuriken. Will the Shuriken make it out? It does not! Very big get for Tex there. That Shuriken had been a thorn in his side this whole game. Haywire grenade goes off on the truck as the Warlock patrols around it, keeping those sluggas in. However, they are now ready to ambush these warp spiders after the teleport has gone off. Will this warp spiders get out? 73 hit points. They do, thanks to... No, they do not! That was a weird sort of lag death there. However, they did not make it out. Looked like the destructive strike from the Warlock had helped them, or saved them rather, but it had not. By the way, the Warlock is right here. He is bugged out, and his icon is no longer appearing, as replays in this game love to do. Stick Bomb is now covering this point. The Autarch is marching up to try to ninja it, but the Stick Boys are ready. But the Autarch is ready. But the Stick Boys are running away. Truck repair going down. Often happens when you're driving around out in the wilds of the Green Tooth Gorge. Your truck breaks down. You need to get out and fix it up before you keep driving on. You don't want to drive it into the ground. It's your truck, man. You're in the middle of nowhere. Keep your truck healthy. Truck now pew-pewing like a madman. Interestingly, you can see a member of the Slugga squad sort of dragging along there in between the wheel and the cab there. Very nice shot from the Weird Boy, forcing back all but the Banshee Exarch. However, Weird Boys don't do so great against Warlocks in melee. I should mention now the victory points are still quite in favor of DrifterXero. Resources have been about neck and neck at roughly broke versus broke the whole game. Shoota's now doing some damage to these Guardians. However, Guardians now tossing a grenade. Shoota's on the ball. Ooh, lost another member there, down to 4. Meanwhile, the Mech Boy is waiting for this Clown car reinforcement, and the Weird Boy in that building is proving quite a nuisance. Ooh, does a little bit of damage to his friends there. That Banshee's at 17, 15. Oh, Distortion Field barely saving the Exarch as she runs away. Looks like the Warlock is trying to camp there. He does go down to the massive focus fire. And that's the game. DrifterXero concedes. Texanius manages to pull it out after a somewhat rocky opening. Very well played by both players, of course, though. A lot of interesting choices were made, and the constant harassment of each other's resources left both players strapped for cash constantly. Neither made it to Tier 3. Neither were able to make Well, I guess Tex did buy quite a bit in Tier 2, however, and so did Drifter. However, they did not go for any of the huge units, the huge, big money units. And the score reflects how close this game really was. The commander levels in losses are almost identical. The units killed versus the units lost is quite significantly in Texanius's favor, thanks to, in part, to his clown car antics. But resources, as we see for both players, are pretty low, especially in the power collected department. And yeah, so that is the game, and that is episode 11 of Decepticast. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next week.